Penny Rubble saw them returning together. "You see, Frantic," she said, "you always wanted a little brother. Now you have one." She turned to Jurek. "Why don't you ever go play with the village boys?" "Where?" "Frantic will show you." Frantic led Jurek to an empty lot behind the last house of the village. In summer it served as a soccer field. Now a circle of boys, ranging in age from tots to teenagers, was standing around two youngsters, fighting with whips. They lashed at each other with a savage fury. Jurek had never seen such a sport. He and Frantic joined the circle. The whip fight went on until one boy surrendered. Now everyone turned to look at Jurek. "Who's that?" "He works for us," Frantic said. "Come on, we'll see what you're made of," someone said. At first, Jurek feared he would have to take part in a whip fight. But to join the gang of boys, it turned out you only had to wrestle. A boy was chosen who seemed a fair match for him. Jurek pinned him easily. Then he had to fight a bigger boy. They wrestled for a long time, rolling on the ground to the cheers of the other boys. At first, everyone except Frantic cheered for Jurek's rival. Gradually, though, Jurek's grit won him sympathy. In the end, it was decided to call it a draw. From then on, Jurek went to play with the village boys. Sometimes Frantic came too. Jurek excelled at ragball, soccer, and tried to stay out of whip fights, though he took part in them when he had to. There were also spitting and peeing contests. Spitting was no problem. In peeing, though, he had to be careful to let no one see that he was circumcised. Fortunately, everyone was looking at where the pea landed, and at running Jurek was the champion. No one was faster. "I'll bring my big brother tomorrow," a boy said. "Let's see you beat him." The next day, the boy brought his brother. A starting and finish line were drawn, and everyone watched tensely. A whistle served as the starting gun. Jurek won. The older brother, humiliated, kicked him. "You dirty yid," he said. Frantic and his friends didn't like that. "Watch it, Zygmunt," Frantic said. "Call him a yid again, and I'll have my brother kick your ass." Zygmunt cursed and walked off, but he didn't forget the insult. When spring came and Pan Rubel and his two sons were busy with the plowing and sowing, Jurek was given the job of taking the cows out to pasture. For the first few days, Frantic went with him. He showed Jurek his slingshot and demonstrated his skill with it, killing 2 grouse in no time. Jurek gathered wood and arranged it for a fire. Frantic took one look at it, scattered it with a kick, and looked at it scornfully. "Come here, you idiot," he said. "I'll teach you how to do it." He went to the nearby woods and came back with some twigs, some dry pine needles, and a few larger branches. Building a well-aired structure of the twigs, he put the pine needles beneath them and lit them with matches. Once the flames took hold and added the branches. Soon they had a merry bonfire. Jurek brought mud from the next field, and they baked the grouse as village boys have always done. "Frantic, how do I make a slingshot?" Jurek asked. "I'll sell you this one," Frantic said. "I've got 2 more at home." "How much do you want for it?" 10 zloty. You can earn them back in 2 or 3 Sundays." Jurek was thrilled to have his own slingshot. He practiced constantly, aiming at whatever did or didn't move, for the time being without much success. Frantic remembered his promise. One hot day, he invited Jurek to come with him and the horses to the stream. "Bareback?" Jurek marveled, looking at the unsaddled horses. "What did you think?" Frantic said. "You don't wash a horse with its saddle. Come on, I'll help you up. The spotted mare is easy to ride." Jurek sat on the spotted horse, looking for something to grab onto. "Hold on to its mane," Frantic said. He mounted the other horse with a third in tow, and they set out. Once Jurek got over his fear of swaying so high off the ground, he was joyful. They reached the stream. The horses were happy to be in the water and frisked about in it. Jurek and Frantic waded in after them, and Frantic took some rags from his pocket. "Rub her down well," he told Jurek, pointing to the mare. "She likes it." It was hard work, but when the two of them rode back into the village on the horses, Jurek felt full of pride. From now on, Pan Rubel would sometimes let him ride the spotted mare to pasture. He rode her bareback with a bit and reins to help control her. He still hadn't managed to hunt a grouse with Frantic's slingshot. Meanwhile, he hunted smaller birds with a horsehair. Each time he set a trap for them and thought of Marisa, of her braids and her dress and her fingers tossing the jacks. "Do you know why I'm nice to you?" Thinking of those words gave him a good feeling. But Zygmunt still had it in for him. He was just waiting for a chance to get even. One day he stopped to watch a peeing contest. Jurek stood in the line of waiting boys and didn't notice him. Before he knew it, Zygmunt came over and grabbed his hands, bearing his penis. "I knew it," he crowed. "I knew it. You're a yid. You'll have to come with me. The Germans will be happy to have you." Jurek squirmed from his grasp and ran off. Zygmunt chased him, but soon gave up and went to get his father. Jurek ran back to the house. Pan Rubel and his sons were outside fixing a wagon. Jurek told them what had happened. Zygmunt, Victor said, that's what you might expect of someone from his family. You lied to us, Pan Rubel told Jurek. You put us all in danger. Franek defended him. He had no choice. You be quiet. Franek's right, Victor said. What's the matter? Wasn't he a good worker? Franek asked. Are you going to turn him over to the Germans just because of Zygmunt's family? No, his father said. You're right, Franek. Call your mother. Jurek went to the barn to get his jacket and his knapsack. In it were the shoes the pretty woman had given him. Pani Rubel was waiting for him when he returned. She had some food that she put into his knapsack. May Jesus Christ watch over you, Jurek, she said. Of course he will, said Victor. He was a Jew, too. Pan Rubel threw his hammer down on the wagon. You sinner, he shouted angrily. How dare you talk like that? You'll go to hell. I'll meet you there, Papa, Victor said. Stop it, Pani Rubel begged. Say goodbye to the boy. He's just a poor orphan. Franek and Victor walked him past the last house of the village. They were afraid Zygmunt and his father might waylay him along the road. Jurek turned around and watched them walk back. He looked sadly at the horses of the village. He had thought that he had at last found a farmer to stay with until the end of the war.